Now we will talk about the unit that is perhaps the most questionable, or the one that is of the greatest concern for Liverpool supporters. I'm Eric Avasar, and welcome back to the Eric Avasar podcast. Now, the first defender I'm going to mention is the one who was so beleaguered, so battered, and bruised early in his time at Anfield, Dejan Lovren. We're talking about a guy who took so much abuse from so many people that he actually deleted all of his social media accounts. He was, let's be fair, atrocious early on in his time at Anfield. The errors he made getting caught out, trying to do too much, being flamboyant, just not things you want to see from a center back. And he paid the price, but Jurgen Klopp has unleashed his potential. He has made him the player that he was at Southampton, if not better. And it's really, really paid off. Lovren has already immortalized himself in Liverpool lore for the game-winning goal he scored against Borussia Dortmund in the Europa League. Now, Lovren is going to be a man who's widely trusted. He's worn the captain's armband in the preseason. He commands the respect that he wanted to command when he first came to Anfield. So, to see him unlock his potential and play so well has been so refreshing to see. And what's also been refreshing to see is the towering presence of Joel Matip. Matip came on a free transfer from Schalke, which is just so hard to believe when you see him in action in preseason with his massive presence, his command in the box, and his very strong positioning. Matip should be more than a serviceable center back. He'll more than likely be in Klopp's first 11. There are some concerns with Matip's pace. Being at his size, he could get outgunned by the faster players in the Premier League. But fear not, Liverpool fans, Matip should be a very, very strong center back for years to come. Still a young player in his prime. Now, Ragnar Klavan was an interesting signing. Some people say that we should have kept Skrtel and not signed Klavan. I disagree. Clearly, Skrtel was not on good terms with Klopp. Klavan wants to be at the club. He's shown it. He shut down Barcelona. He played fantastic in that game. His positioning is also, like Matip, top-notch. A player who also, like Matip, not the fastest guy, but he is very smart, has very good instincts, a nose for the ball, and I think he will be a very strong backup center back. That being said, the big wild card of the center back bunch is, without a doubt, Mamadou Sakho. On one hand, you had fans calling for him to be captain after he put the interests of the club ahead of his own upon learning of his positive doping tests. And, his leadership has been very strong. He's respected, but, he's clearly not in good graces with Klopp right now, having been sent home from the preseason tour for missing treatment session, as well as showing up late to a team meal, being late for the flight. A small little list of little things that add up, they turn into big things for Klopp, who's a no-nonsense guy, clearly. So Sakho has to earn his place back. You would like to think he's going to be in the first 11, but he has a tough fight on his hands with Matip and Lovren. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how things play out on the back line. You would like to think that nobody is going to storm out of the dressing room over not getting picked. Meanwhile, fullbacks. We have a depth crisis. We have an embarrassment of riches in the front line, the forwards, the midfielders. We have more than we need. We have a surplus. We have a crisis, a shortage, however you want to put it, with our fullbacks. On one hand, on the right side, Nathaniel Klein is the best defender, in my opinion, on the English national team. It was an absolute travesty that only played one game. He offers so much both in the attack and defensively. He tracks back. He presses. He has good technical skills. He's everything that Liverpool fans could want in a right back, and we are so lucky to have him at the club. On the other hand, Alberto Moreno has been the bane of the existence for so many supporters. I mean, his mistakes in the Europa League final were just unconscionable. His positioning, getting caught out, the silly fouls he's made. It's just terrible. You have to wonder if he could ever become a legitimate defender. I'm not saying he can't come good. Still a young player. But, you can kind of tell that he's a winger at heart, that he loves to attack. He's not a natural defender, so it'll be a true test of Klopp's man management and coaching ability to see if he can turn Moreno into a true defender. But what is so troublesome is the fact that we do not have a true fullback backing up to compete with Moreno. Where's the competition back there? Nowhere to be found. James Milner? Really? I mean, look, Milner works as hard as anyone. He gets the job done. He's serviceable. But you don't want to line up James Milner at left back. Sure, it's better than lining up Markovic as a fullback. But James Milner should not be playing as a fullback. You should not be pushing Moreno for that spot. So there is going to be some hell to pay, potentially, if Jurgen Klopp does not sign a left back before the close of the transfer window. We've been linked to Jonas Hector, 20 million euros for a starting player in the German national team. Not a bad deal. He should be bought. Price should not be an issue there. Certainly should not be an issue if and when Liverpool sells Christian Benteke in excess of 30 million euros. Now, where do we stand with backups? Well, really the only one we have right now is Connor Randall. John Flanagan got loaned out. Flanagan I would much rather have over Moreno, as most people would. But Flanagan is still recovering from those long-term injuries. He needs regular first-team football, and he's been promised that in the Premier League at Burnley. So I understand the rationale. It was just difficult to see him go. So much more to feel confident about with the Liverpool center back situation than with the fullbacks, even as Nathaniel Klein is arguably one of the best right backs in the world, certainly up there in the upper echelon in the Premier League, criminally underrated. There will be much to discuss with how Liverpool's defense performs this season.